My dad passed away when I, 16-year-old female, was like 3. We lived in a house that my grandparents own, and they agreed to let my mom and I live there rent-free. Over the years, whenever my mom dated, I tried to spend the nights she had guests over at my grandparents' house. When I was 10, my grandfather renovated the basement to make me my own kind of apartment. I have my own bathroom, kitchen, and living room to go with my bedroom. My mom met a guy last year, and it got serious. He moved in with his 2 kids, which is fine by me. My mom deserves to be happy and have someone in her life. There are 3 bedrooms upstairs, so it is perfect, 1 for them and 1 for each of his kids. Everything was going according to plan until the kids asked where I was staying. I said I lived in the basement. They made a joke about me loving in my mom's basement. I invited them down to play Mario Kart, to be sociable, and to show off, if I'm being completely honest. I have a couch my uncle gave me and my dad's old lazy boy in the living room. The recliner is only for me, and all my friends know that. The kids started complaining that it wasn't fair that I got all this room to myself. One tried sitting in my chair, even after I told her that it was only for me. I settled that immediately. It's mine. After a few races where I demolished them, I said it was time for them to go back upstairs. They said no. I called my mom to come get them. Over the course of the next week, my mom started hinting that maybe my living room should be a common area. I said no. She started insisting. I said no. She has a key to my door. I never locked my door unless she had guests. I did start locking it when Dan and his kids moved in. I came home from school and found the kids in my living room. They had also gone into my room, and they were eating my snacks that I pay for myself. I yelled and told them to GTFO. I called for my mom to explain why they were there. She said that she decided it wasn't fair that I got almost a third of the house to myself, and that my TV and gaming systems should be shared. I said frick that. She got really upset with me and said it was a done deal, so deal with it. My grandfather and he and my uncles came and got me, and all the things that matter to me, including my recliner. He told my mom that she needed to start paying rent if I wasn't going to be living there. I have a bedroom at my grandparents' house, but I miss my area. My mom is trying to get me to go back so they can save money to get their own place. Yeah, right. I'm not that dumb. She said that I need to stop being a brat and behave like an adult. I said I was living like an adult until you let those kids onto my area without permission. She tried to say she could do whatever she wanted in her house. Sometimes I think she forgets it wasn't my dad's house and she didn't inherit it. I feel a little guilty about this because my mom is actually pretty cool, and I hate that this is causing strain on her relationship. Am I the idiot? After talking to my grandparents, I have something to add. They were not happy about her moving her boyfriend and his kids in. They were going to allow it since I lived there still. Them coming into my space and my mom saying I had to share it did not go over well with them. That's why they want to start charging her rent, especially after I moved out. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I'm glad you're standing firm because your mother has absolutely no right to your living area, your things, your snacks, etc. They were provided to you from your grandparents, not from her. Unfortunately, some people can't be reasoned with, as you've found out. You're probably going to find yourself going low contact when you're an adult. That's okay. You can love her from a distance and not become the person who supplies the deficits in her life. She's an adult. She should pay her own way, not steal from her daughter. Comment 2. Not the idiot. I'm sure your mother is getting pressure from her boyfriend over this. I would not back down. Your mom is more than entitled to a life of her own, but she has no right to force it on you. I wouldn't get into it with her. It's just a circular argument and sounds exhausting. Just tell her you're sorry she feels that way, but unless she keeps her boyfriend's kids out of your place, you will remain at your grandparents', and her financial issues are not your problem. Then change the subject. Repeat as needed. Now, for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been a week since my last post, and boy, do I have an update for you all. After the whole fiasco with my mom and her boyfriend's kids invading my basement apartment, things took a turn for the dramatic. And I'm not just talking about a little family spat. So, after I moved out to my grandparents' place, my mom was pretty upset. She kept trying to get me to come back, saying that they needed to save money. But I wasn't about to give in, especially after what happened. I mean, come on, they totally disrespected my space. Now here's where it gets juicy. My mom's boyfriend, Dan, tried to play the peacemaker. He came over to my grandparents' house to talk to me. He said he understood why I was mad, and that he'd talk to my mom about setting boundaries for his kids. I was skeptical, but I appreciated the effort. Meanwhile, my uncles, who've always been like father figures to me, were not having any of it. They were super protective and told my mom that she had crossed a line. They reminded her of how my dad would have wanted me to have my own space, and that she was disrespecting his memory by letting this happen. But then, out of nowhere, my mom showed up at my grandparents' house, and she was in tears. She apologized for everything and said she realized she had made a huge mistake. She admitted that she got caught up in her new relationship and forgot about what was important, me. It was a pretty intense moment, and I could tell she was sincere. We had a long talk, and she promised that from now on, she'd respect my space and make sure Dan's kids did too. She even agreed to set up a schedule for when they could use the living room upstairs, so they wouldn't need to invade my basement. And get this, Dan actually backed me up. He told his kids off for disrespecting my rules and made it clear that my basement was off limits unless I invited them. I was shocked, to say the least. I didn't expect him to side with me over his own kids, but I guess he really cared about making things right. The biggest surprise, though, came from my grandparents. They sat my mom down and had a serious talk about the future. They told her that they would waive the rent if she could prove that she was taking steps to respect my independence and our family's values. They also made it clear that they were doing this for me, not for her or Dan. So, after a week of tension, things are finally looking up. My mom and I are on better terms, and she's been sticking to her word. Dan's kids have been keeping their distance from my basement, and I've even let them join me for a game of Mario Kart once or twice. On my terms, of course. I've been spending more time upstairs too, now that the living room is a shared space on a schedule. It's actually kind of nice to hang out with everyone without feeling like my personal space is being invaded. And the best part? My recliner is back in the basement, and it's still mine, all mine. My friends have been coming over again, and we've had some epic gaming sessions without any interruptions. I guess in the end, everything worked out. My mom is acting more like the cool mom I remember, and I've got my space back. Plus, I've learned that it's okay to stand up for myself and that my family has my back, no matter what. Parents ask me to pick a restaurant for my birthday dinner, but then they refuse and suggest a place that caters to my siblings' needs. Oh boy, do they regret it. I'm a 16-year-old male, and I'm the second oldest of 4. My older sister is 18 years old, and she has Down syndrome and is medically complex with complex needs. She also has food allergies. My younger sister is 13 years old, and she has a host of food allergies, some of which are very serious. And she's also on the spectrum. Then we have my younger brother, who is 11 years old, and he has a lot of medical issues related to food and allergies. We always try to make sure places are accessible for them, especially because my older sister is in a wheelchair. This does mean I can be overlooked. It does mean making sacrifices or accepting that things will never be as easy as it would be for a kid in a family with fewer extra/special needs. I'm used to not getting my favorite dishes, and I'm used to not getting my top pick for vacations because my parents don't think it's accessible enough or autism-friendly enough. I'm used to my siblings never getting turned down for that stuff. After a while, it became something I expected. I was lucky that my maternal grandparents tried to make up for it when they could, and my best friend's family would also include me in their family for stuff like meals out. My favorite restaurant in our city is this Indian place. My favorite dish is their samosas. I never get to eat there with my parents and siblings, and we never get takeout from there because it's not deemed safe for all my siblings. Sometimes that stinks, especially when my parents proclaim they always get their kids' favorite food from their favorite restaurant for their birthdays each year. This year, my parents made a big deal over me turning 16, and they told me to pick my favorite place for us to have a family dinner for my birthday. A family dinner that included extended family. I told them my favorite place, and they told me that wouldn't work. I asked if they wanted my favorite place or a place catered to my siblings. They asked me if I didn't want to cater to my siblings, and I said no. They asked where did I want to go. I said the Indian place. They gave me one of those looks and said they would give me more time to think. A couple of weeks later, they asked me where I wanted to eat for my birthday, and I told them my answer had not changed. They asked me if I could really enjoy my birthday, knowing it wasn't accessible and safe for my siblings to eat there. And I said yes, since it's meant to be my birthday, and they wanted me to choose my favorite restaurant. They told me they would book the family favorite. and went ahead and did that. The family favorite has nothing I actually like. I just tolerate it. They had everything planned, invited everyone, and when the evening came for the dinner, I just didn't go. My parents are furious with me. I had everything taken away for a week, and they planned to continue the punishment in some way. My grandparents defended me, but my parents said I was rude. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I'm so sorry. I hope your grandparents or best friend forever celebrated you. Just know in 2 years, you can escape. Unless you can go to your grandparents or best friend forever to live there now. And they will wonder why you don't want to be with them anymore, or take care of your siblings when they can't anymore. The more fair alternatives would be to order takeout on birthdays. So you can get your favorite, and they can get safe foods, and you eat at home, or wherever, can host your group as a whole. Or maybe one parent takes the birthday kid out for an outing and meal of their choice, one-on-one time, and cake back at home with the family. I'm sorry, OP. Happy birthday. Comment 2. Not the idiot, your parents are. Of course they want it to be easier for them, but they asked you for your favorite spot and tried to gaslight you into another place. Sure, it's easier for them, but it sounds like you've had to do this your entire life. Not fair. As much as they want to include your siblings, they should be supporting you too. Maybe a compromise at an Indian place that's more accessible would be a compromise, but not possible depending on where you live. I thought all restaurants needed to be ADA compliant. Regardless, this will forever be an issue in your life. Do you want to embrace it or run from it? Now, for the update. Hey everyone, back with an update on the birthday dinner drama. It's been a wild 3 days since I last posted, and let me tell you, things have taken some unexpected turns. So, after I got grounded for skipping out on the dinner, my grandparents stepped in big time. They've always been my rock, you know. They told my parents they were being unfair and that I deserved to have my choice respected, especially on my birthday. My parents weren't having any of it at first, but my grandparents weren't backing down either. Now, here's where things get steamy. My best friend's family, who've been like a second family to me, caught wind of what happened. They decided to throw me a surprise dinner at my favorite Indian place. It was just supposed to be me and them, a quiet celebration. But word got out somehow, and before I knew it, my entire extended family wanted in on the action. They all felt I'd been wronged and wanted to make it right. The night of the surprise dinner, I walked into the restaurant, and my jaw hit the floor. There was my whole family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, all there for me. It was overwhelming, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I wasn't invisible in my own family. But here's the twist. My parents showed up too. They'd been talking to my grandparents, and finally realized they'd messed up. They came to apologize and try to make amends. It was a pretty intense moment, everyone watching as my mom and dad said they were sorry for not listening to me. We all sat down to eat, and the food was amazing as always. I got my samosas, and everyone else found something they liked too. It was a great night, and it felt like maybe things were taking a turn for the better in my family. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. My younger sister, the one with the serious food allergies, started feeling sick. We had to rush her to the hospital because she'd accidentally eaten something she was allergic to. It was a scary moment, and it put a damper on the whole evening. She's okay now, thank goodness, but it was a reminder of why my parents are so cautious with food in restaurants. The next day, my parents and I had a long talk. They admitted they'd been so focused on my siblings' needs that they'd neglected mine. They promised to try harder to find a balance. It was a good conversation, but it's going to take time to really change things. As for my punishment, my parents lifted it. They said they understood why I did what I did and that they were proud of me for standing up for myself. It felt good to hear that, but I can't shake off the guilt about my sister's allergic reaction. It's like no matter what, I can't win. Infertile for 13 years and sold our house to be child-free. But then I got pregnant at 40 and kept it a secret until 18 weeks and also the baby's name. My sister-in-law confronted me multiple times and even revealed the name to the family. Boy, did she regret it. My husband, 42 years old, and I, 41 years old, tried to have children for 13 years before we accepted that we were never going to have it happen for us. We spent a lot of time hoping and trying different things, and nothing worked. I was 35 when we decided to come to terms with our life as a child-free couple. We sold our old house, downsizing considerably, and we started changing how we lived our life. We had devoted so much time to preparing to be a family with children, that we didn't really know what we wanted now that it was no longer in the cards. Then, just after my 40th birthday, I discovered I was pregnant. It was a huge shock, and what was even more surprising was that the baby was healthy when I went for my first scan. But I was afraid. We both were. So we waited until I was 18 weeks to tell people. I didn't really show until I was about 21 weeks, so that made it easy to hide. We announced, and people were thrilled for us. All our siblings already had children who were 9 years old and older, so this was the first baby born into the family in a while. We got asked about names and whether we would have a proper name or baby shower with a name reveal. We decided to keep the name to ourselves until he was born. Something special and a surprise for people. Most people understood, but it came to our attention recently that one of my husband's sisters, SEL, was not happy about any of this. She didn't like that we kept the pregnancy to ourselves for a while and disliked it even more that we didn't share the name. She brought this up at Christmas for the first time and surprised the whole family. She brought it up to my husband on 3 separate occasions after it. And then she brought it up to me 4 days ago. She told me we left our families out when this was just as big a deal for them as it was for us. She said everyone had wanted us to have a baby too, and how could we cut them out like that? She also claimed we could have gotten feedback and blessings from family members on his name, which is Hawthorne for people who will ask. I told her that the news came as such a surprise, and we worried and wanted to come to terms and get to what we felt was a safe point before telling people. She argued we needed our family if something went wrong. Then she said there was still no excuse for the name, that the name was kind of odd, and she would have liked us to pick a more classic name, like James or George. I told her I understood that everyone had their own taste, but we were getting one chance to name a child and one chance to experience parenthood, and we wanted to make the most of it. I said we never did it to hurt anyone, but we wanted to do what felt right to us. She told me that was what my husband said, and it was lame, especially to defend myself that way, when it was something that the whole family is experiencing. She told me we just wanted to leave everyone out, and we should have known better. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. First off, congratulations. Secondly, why is it any of her business? This is your baby, not hers. You tell people when you're ready, and never before. Also, the name issue is bizarre. Her input is not necessary, needed, or wanted. It is literally none of her concern what you choose to name your baby. Love the name, by the way, it's beautiful. I'm a bit old-fashioned, and agree about waiting until after the baby is born to announce the name. Don't get many surprises in life, and it's nice to wait and see. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Unless they were in the bedroom cheering you and your husband on while you two had intimacy, the decision of when to share the pregnancy news or the name of the fetus is entirely up to the parents. You don't owe anyone a heads up or a blessing or permission. Also, who the F is she to talk to you both repeatedly about how things should have been done? If that's how she did it and liked it, good on her. But don't go telling other people how to do their pregnancy. She's such an A. Now for the update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I'm still reeling from the events of the past 3 days. After my sister-in-law, SEL, confronted me about the name we chose for our baby, Hawthorne, things took a turn for the worse. 2 days ago, my husband and I were at a family dinner, and sister-in-law brought up the name issue again. This time, she did it in front of everyone. She said that we were selfish for not considering the family's feelings, and that Hawthorne was a name that would make our child a target for teasing. My husband tried to defuse the situation, but sister-in-law was relentless. She even had the audacity to suggest that we were trying to make our child special at the expense of family unity. The tension at the dinner table was thick. My husband's parents tried to change the subject, but sister-in-law wouldn't let it go. She went on to say that we had always been the odd ones out in the family, always doing things our way without regard for others. It was hurtful, especially considering how much we had longed for a child and how we had struggled to conceive. But the real shock came when sister-in-law revealed that she had gone behind our backs and told everyone the name we had chosen, even though we wanted to keep it a secret until the birth. She justified her actions by saying that the family had a right to know and that we were being unfair by keeping it to ourselves. The next day, I found out that sister-in-law had been spreading rumors about us, saying that we thought we were better than the rest of the family and that we were looking down on traditional names. It was as if she was trying to turn the family against us. My husband and I were devastated. We had always been close to our family, and now it felt like we were being ostracized because of a name. But then, something unexpected happened. My husband's brother, who had always been close to sister-in-law, confronted her. He told her that what she was doing was wrong, and that she had no right to interfere with our choices as parents. He reminded her of the years we spent trying to have a child, and how this should be a time of celebration, not conflict. Sister-in-law was taken aback. She had always been the one to dictate how things should be in the family, and now she was being challenged. The rest of the family started to see how unreasonable she had been. They began to question her motives and whether she was acting out of concern for us or just trying to control the situation. The family started to come around, offering us their support and apologizing for any hurt they may have caused. They said that they were just excited about the new addition to the family and that they had let sister-in-law's influence cloud their judgment. As for sister-in-law, she was left to reflect on her actions. She had always been the one to hold grudges and keep score, but now she was on the receiving end of the family's disapproval. It was a subtle shift, but it felt like karma had finally caught up with her. The last 3 days have been a whirlwind of emotions. We went from feeling isolated and attacked to being supported and embraced by our family. It's been a reminder that sometimes standing up for what you believe in can bring people together, even when it seems like everything is falling apart. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.